Welcome back to my channel and welcome back into the darkroom. I've been really trying to get in here for some time. It hasn't worked out. So today I'm super excited to get some prints done from the time that I was back home over the summer. I had to do some maintenance on the window seals and some things around the room to get it all ready for this year. I also got a couple new toys to help me get the best prints that I possibly can. Number one, finally got a digital timer. This is the Catlab's timer. I haven't done anything with it yet. I'm really excited to get in and to use this new timer. It just helps so much for repeatability for any times that are not full seconds, which my old boy right here, there's nothing wrong with these. I think they're fantastic, but when it comes to repeatability, not always the best option. But for starting off in a darkroom, these are fantastic, right? You can get used ones for pretty cheap. They do the job and they do it well, but I wanted to obviously take a step forward in my printing and have more control for my exposure. The other thing that I got finally is a 50mm enlarging lens. I don't know if anyone was ever saw when I was doing 35mm printing before. I had the enlarger head as far up as it possibly could go to try to get a 35mm 8x10 print, and even then I couldn't fill the page correctly because the enlarging lens that I was using before was for my 6x7 negatives. So I needed a different enlarging lens to make sure that all of my Pentax medium format and the Hasselblad I could print at actual size and up to 11x14s for the paper that I have. So I was never really getting a full true 8x10 print. So today I'm doing an 8x10 print. I've got my 8x10 easel, I have my enlarging lens, and I have my new timer, and I'm really excited to get into it. I've already picked the print that I want to, I've already picked the negative that I want to print today, and that is from my trip to San Xavier back in July. There's just one negative that just really, it just stood out as something that I really want to see printed. So that is my one goal today. Get that print, try out the new lens and my timer, and just do it until I get the print that I want. So the chemicals are ready to go. Everything is set. Just need to get the lens into the enlarger, do a test print, and see where I'm beginning. It helps if you actually put the lens correctly into the housing to fit. So I figured that out because I was like, why can't I focus? This isn't making any sense. Ah, we got that done. So yay on that. So now finally I can start putting together my composition. There are two small branches in the top left part of the negative that I don't want in the print. Obviously, they're just distractions. So I'm just gonna need to format it and put the composition so that those are not there, and then just go ahead and put that together. So let's go and find where we are in getting focus and removing those branches, and we'll get to work on the test print. All right, so I've gotten the composition that I want. I've got the little two distraction branches out of the frame. I have to say right now though, this is very weird and different to have a 35mm full 8x10 and the enlarger head is actually right here. I could focus much easier. Everything just makes sense. Weird how that works, right? It's supposed to make sense. So the negative itself has a pretty fair amount of contrast in it as it is. So I'm going to start with a 2-grade filter. I'm just going to keep the contrast neutral to the negative just to see where it sits in the test. And my test is going to be right through the main center part of the image. So I will be doing a 5x7 test, and I'll be doing it vertically to see how the tree and the sky react, and also that small part of the outer wall at San Xavier. 4 second, 4 second. Oh, that is already so much nicer than using the old turn of the clock dial. Oh, I'm already happy with this little thing. It's going to be great to have. We'll do one more in there. Let's see how she comes out. What I can see is clearly 4 seconds is not going to be enough. We're just not getting in there. 8 seconds and 12 seconds, and then up here 16 seconds. Oh, is that a... Oh, maybe something on the negative. Oh, don't like to see that. It only shows up though on 16, so don't go there. So here I am at 8, and I'm thinking, okay, the wall is showing all of the weather wear that is there, which is part of the image, so that would be acceptable. The question I have to ask myself is, how far do I want to go in terms of separating the whites from the blacks? Do I want to go that far to where the tree is just solid and heavy, and then everything else, the background, is sort of that lighter contrast? Or do I want some of the element in the tree to be showing where the sunlight was and of course where the shadow exists, and the balance of that, because there's something in the cross right here being all black and having just its basic shape is appealing, but it's probably going to be making everything else sort of fall into that category of just being too heavy and too dark. And the sky back here really isn't enough of an offset for the weight of the image. There's also a part of me thinking that maybe a 1.5 grade contrast filter, if I take the contrast out, would I have more depth or a more dynamic image? So I'm thinking right now, just for a trial, if I go up to the 12 seconds, this is what I'm going to get at a 2 grade filter. But what would happen at 12 seconds if I did a 1.5 grade filter? Just take a little bit of the contrast out and see how that develops. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I have the paper, I have the time. I want to follow my curiosity a little bit just to have a better understanding of the image, and also contrast filters. It's always a learning process. So I'm going to do that 12 seconds with a 1.5 grade and compare with that and see what we get. 1.5. There we go. 12 seconds. Looking at the image, I can safely say that I am not there yet. Seeing it in the red light in the developer was a little bit of a trick there. I thought that this was a bit darker and this was lighter. I guess it's been a while since I've been in the darkroom, because normally you can calibrate that in your mind. There's more to go. I love how the background is just staying white. Perfect. And I haven't gone too far. There is more room here. I want it to be more contrasty, but not, like overboard, right? I want a more punch inside here. The image is one that I want to print because there is something about it that is, I don't know how to articulate it. It's just, there's something deeply meaningful when there's just more blacks and the mids are just built to have more substance, I guess is the word I want to use. There's something there. So I'm not there yet, but I like where this contrast filter is going versus the 2. So I'm gonna stick with the 1.5. I was looking at the other test print I started with, and my idea that 12 was where to go when I was looking at 8. Something just sort of says, well, if this is what you want and you're doing one at 16, so double where you were with the 2, with the 1.5, and it might get to the space that I'm looking for. So another test print is on the way, and I'm thinking that I'm going to do, the tree is going to be the tree, that's fine. So I'm thinking of doing half. So I'm going to do 1/2 of the wall at 16, and I'm going to do another half with the tree at, say, at 18, and go from there, and I think I'll be within the space I want to be in. So that's the plan. I still like it. It's good enough for me. But we're going to try and get the best one today. 16 and 18. And you can see the line right there in the between. 16 over here, 18 over here. Where am I? Well, that's a good question. 16 still keeps the sky almost neutral to white. 18 can actually start seeing the grays coming in the sky right there in that little line. And that's one thing I want to consider and ask myself, can I achieve what I want in the rest of the image while still trying to keep the sky as close to white as possible? In the tree at 18, there's this part right here which is now sort of mudding away, which is not the worst, but it'd be kind of nice to have some detail in there. But the rest of the tree at 18, it's not so bad. It has that depth, it has that, I don't know, something about it is still there. And the part where the sun is just super bright coming across here is still fine. And the lower part, it's a little bit of shaded area is coming in. And the wall is getting that fade, that black and that fade as it goes down. Here, it's not as built, but the evidence of it is just, oh, and it's I don't know, it might be nicer in contrast to the tree. The tree is very dark, and the wall part just has a bit of the, obviously the age, but is not as heavy. It might actually be a better balance. So this is 16 and this is 18. I don't know if there's going to be much difference between those two when it comes down to it. I mean, the extra 2 seconds is definitely doing something here, but the 2 seconds less might benefit the tree and the overall image. So that's what I'm going to do. 16, or just split the difference maybe, right? What's the difference? 17, see what happens? Let's just do that. Let's just do 17 seconds and split the difference and see what we get. I would say the first session back in the darkroom went very well. The beginning with the lens and the mounting, felt like my first time in the room again. But things fell into place and memory kicked in. 2 prints that I wanted to get. This is the 17 second. And in the beginning, I sort of had this vision of a weightier image. But when I look at this one, the lightness here, there's like no sky whatsoever. It's almost white. You can barely see any change on the negative space of the image. The more I looked at it, the more I thought, okay, wait, there's something balanced in it. There's something that is pleasing with not having it being too heavy and too weighted. And I was like, okay, that's nice. But then I thought, can I push it a little bit more? And so I went to 19.4 seconds to get this image. And there is a difference. The corner here is more developed, definitely got more of that information coming out. And I enjoy that definitely a bit more. No change really in the negative space, which again, fantastic. And it's a bit darker here, but it's not going anywhere that is sort of uncontrollable and a bit too much. And I think this was the spot. But I did notice that right down at the very bottom, I was getting just a hint of the arch. And I thought, no, I can just sort of crop that little bit out. So I went back to the negative, and I moved the enlarger head up, and I then redid my composition, and I was like, okay, this is going to be nice. And then I refocused, and I did everything that I needed to do. And the result that I got was a little bit different than I had expected. And this is the result that I got. Same time. No, not same time. I did go up to 21 just again to see what I could do. But you can see that this is clearly different than this. I thought I was doing this, and I got this, much to my surprise. And I really like it. I really, really like it. It's what I wanted in my head from the beginning. A heavy, kind of ominous, dark image with a lot of negative white and a heavy placement of the tree fading a little bit down to the corner and the fade of the wall with just a hint of that arch now removed. So what happened? Why did I get this, which is sort of what I had in my head in the very beginning, all by accident, and good enough that I could make 2 of them, so I have an extra just for fun. Well, the enlarging lens is different than my other one, which has an illumination to show you the aperture. And I was 1 stop off when I reset the focus. So I was allowing more light to come through. And by doing that 1 mistake and that 1 stop, I was able to, by accident, arrive at the image that I had wanted sort of in my head from the very beginning. So today, happy accidents. Everything seems to be working out really well. I'll take that as a sign, hopefully, right? Please, that's a sign that this year's darkroom sessions are going to be one, fun, learning experience, and I'll get the prints that I want in the long run. I have to say, though, that I'm not displeased with this image whatsoever. I still think this is a fantastic image. And it got me thinking, right, between these two, that our interpretation of the images that we see is a reflection of the interpretation of the photographer, the artist, wherever you want to put that label. If I decide that this is the vision I have of the image, this is the one that I give to you, and this is the only thing that you see. If I decide that this is the interpretation of the image and I give it to you, then this is the only image that you see. But you're only being given what the photographer believes to be what they want to represent in that image. But the fact is that all the images we see have all different types of variations that would create different types of narrative or emotional response. So this one or this one, there's no difference in the image itself. The only difference is, what does this speak and say to you versus what does this speak and say to you? And in the end, it's the one that maybe I choose to be the one. But the fact remains, there's really no difference. It's just which one is the story that I would like to put out for the viewer to engage with. I actually think that both of them are equally good. So you choose which one that you like the most, and that's enough for me. So that's it. I'm going to call it quits. Cleaning up the room already. Thanks again for watching. It's been fun to be back in the room. I'm super excited for this year. I do have the Highway 86 negatives to review, and I already have one in my mind that I would like to make a print of. So right now, thinking about what was I doing in the summer back in Tucson, got a couple rolls of film to look at and see if there's some more prints to get out of. And then, of course, moving forward, what do we got going on this year around southern Oman? And what negatives am I going to be getting in the future to make some prints? So I'm pretty excited. I'm just going to keep on moving. So thanks again for watching. I do appreciate it. Take care, and I will see you next time.